So I'll slap a warning on this video. If you don't want to hear this, if your beliefs, your religious beliefs are going to get in the way, if anything's going to get in the way, just don't watch it. Swipe away, because right now I am going to explain where religion comes from, what religion is all about. I'm going to explain it. So if you don't want to hear it, if you have a belief system that is too fragile to be broken right now, then just swipe, okay? And if you're willing to hear it, then hear it, because I will cite my resources after, cite all of my sources. So for one thing, how did religion begin? Well, from the research I've done, thousands of years ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, when first men came to Earth, it seems to me that the first men were very, very afraid of night, to the point where so afraid of night that night became a demon, okay? Because daytime, during the day, the sun came out, everything was beautiful, everything grew, everything was lovely, everyone was protected, we had heat, we had warmth, we had all this nice stuff. And during the nighttime, we had none of it. We had to hide in caves, we were afraid animals were gonna kill us, all of this evil stuff. So, consequently, we discovered one of the first deities, the first evil deities, was called Set, because sun sets at night, and during sunset, when the sun sets, it becomes very dark and scary outside, and all the stuff I just said. So one of the first deities again was Set. Now they've made so many movies about this. They've made movies about this, shows about this. They've talked about this. They told us about this right to our face. We don't listen. Okay, so like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. This is the light versus the dark. Luke Skywalker, Luke is Lucius. Lucius in Latin means light. Okay, Lucius means light in Latin. Lucius. So we have day versus night. That's what that is. Okay, that's what they're supposed to be talking about. Now, even in Always Sunny, there's an episode. They put it out like 10 years ago. It got so famous, this one episode, that they actually took it on tour, and they went around the world performing this episode. It was a play they wrote called The Night Man, and it was about the day versus the night. So they're joking about this because they obviously know the truth, and they put it in our face. Now, words like Christ, what does this word mean? Well, the word Christ, first of all, comes from the word Christos, comes from the word Krishna, all these words, they're all the same. Christ, it means oil. It means the anointed one. Why are we anointing people with oil? What does that have to do with anything? Well, it all has to do with sex, because the earliest people in the world worshipped the act of sex. So they actually do rituals, and these rituals are all recorded in documents. They're recorded on rocks that they find all over the place, stones with writings on them, and these acts are recorded. And what they used to do was actually, there are statues you can find of people, men, with erections, and legitimately on the statue, there'll be a man with an erection and another man pouring oil on his penis. Now that is because they're worshiping sex, because they know how you make a human baby is by a man and a woman having sex, okay? This stuff is ancient worship. When you start going further and further back, you're going to realize that most of the worship was about sex, about day and night. All this stuff started setting in. Then we start to get later worship. So I would imagine, honestly, from the readings I done, that day and night, some of the first things that we worshipped. Sex, probably one of the first as well, things that we worshipped. Volcanoes, very early worship in volcanoes. It's also shown, many scholars believe that Moses, he was the leader of almost a volcanic sex worship. They were like a cult. And I mean, the Bible even explains that too. You know, he comes down the mountain, his face is red because it was a volcano. He came down off a volcano. His face was red because he just came down from fire. Okay, like there are so many pictures too of Moses, old pictures, old photos of him standing in front of a volcano. All right, pictures of his people running from a volcano. These are pictures that are recorded in the Vatican and all over the world. So when people say you don't know what you're talking about, I'm not making this stuff up. It's based on many researchers that have seen all this stuff and studied this stuff, okay? Now, after a while, the ancient people, after they realized what day and night was, what sex was, and that they could make people, then they realized that, wait a minute, I'm looking up, and all these stars, they form pictures in the sky. And they started writing stories about the pictures. This is where we get our constellations from. And these constellations have derived stories forever. All of mankind, we've been telling the same stories over and over again. They're based on the constellations. All right, there are plenty of parts in the Bible that are talking about constellations. When Jesus tells, I believe it's John in Matthew, I forget who, John and Peter, I believe. Sorry, John and Peter, he tells them to go into town right before the Last Supper. Tells them, go into town and find the man with the water pitcher, holding the water pitcher, and that's where we're going to have the Last Supper. Now, this is what Jesus tells his disciples. Now, why is it interesting? Because when you study the ancient world, men did not walk around with water pitchers, okay? And like when Judas kisses Jesus, men didn't kiss other men in the street thousands of years ago, all right? I don't know what would have even happened if you kissed a man in the street thousands of years ago, to be honest with you. I don't. Because our history has us seeming like that probably would have been a bad thing to do back then, you know? I mean, look at what happens when you kiss a man in the street today. It becomes national news. People fight over it. You're gonna get called all names, and it's gonna be a whole show. I mean, look what they did at the Olympics. They're making a show out of this stuff on purpose. I find it hard to believe that Judas walked up to Jesus and kissed him on the street to identify him. It makes absolutely no sense. Everyone knew who Jesus was back then. He didn't need identifying. He was kissed on the cheek to betray him, the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death because scorpions in the ancient world, their stingers leave two marks that look like lips. They call it the kiss of death. Judas represents Scorpio, which is a constellation in the fall. Why the fall? Because the king of the world, the light of the world, is about to die. So it's symbolism. The king gets kissed by Scorpio, and then the king falls. It's all in the sky. They make movies about this too. The Lion King, Leo the Lion, he is the king. Why is he the king? Because in the summertime, his constellation is upright in the sky, and you're looking at the lion. When the lion leaves, when he's leaving the sky after the summertime, he's falling because his head tumbles downward and he falls out of the sky. This stuff is all about the sky, and this stuff is called astrotheology, okay? I highly recommend people learn about this stuff because it is the oldest form of worship, and this is where everything came from. But again, if your belief system is too strong and you are not able to humble yourself a little bit and accept the fact that we've been lied to and that there's more out there than we know of, then I don't know what to tell you. But if you can do that, if you can humble yourself, you can absolutely learn. So I recommend a book here, and actually everything I've said thus far has been in this book. So for the fact checkers out there and everyone else, Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings for All Ages. It's about this thick. Great book. Jordan Maxwell covers a lot of what he talks about. I have many other books I can reference. If you want, just private message me. I'll send you my books. I've categorized videos, and I have one category called book list. There's books on there as well. Please read and please learn. I love you all. Entertainment, education only. If you don't like what you hear, keep it moving. That's all. I'm not here to hurt people. I'm here for love and truth. That's it. Love you all.